Crypto Caesar Capital. Hope you're well. It's the 9th of September 2025. And today we're going to look at the altcoin market exclusively, really. And we're going to look at Bitcoin dominance first. That's what's on the screen. And then we're going to look at a few other things. The reason why we're going to do alts exclusively today is I'm seeing a lot of people on Twitter saying, you know, there isn't much time left now. We're almost halfway through September. We've got Q4, and that just isn't enough time for the altcoins to run. And in my view, that's not right. These people either forget what happened in history, or they haven't looked, or they simply weren't there and they haven't even looked either. Because if you actually look at the chart and the facts and the data, it will tell you that, in fact, the alt seasons, particularly the last one, in the last cycle, lasted a very short time. And the last leg of the cycle in 2017 to 2018 was also a very short but violent period of up. Now, I completely get the idea of some of the low to mid caps maybe not running as well as people thought they might do, but that's simply because we're saturated. This market is saturated with absolute shit. I mean, we've got Solana coins being literally sort of, you know, new shit coin on the Solana network being produced every minute. So things have changed, landscape has changed, plus investors have become a bit smarter. They're not so dumb anymore. But what I can say is I think that the top 20, maybe the top 30 are still going to do pretty well. And a few obviously outside mid cap, low caps. But my point is this, is that there is enough time left for there to be a violent move with the altcoins. Particularly, you know, altcoins like Doge, XRP, Ethereum, Sui, Link, etc., etc. I'm not naming those specifically. They just came to my head. Now, listen, let's look back. Let's look back in history. Okay, so as you all know, if you've watched all my videos, when Bitcoin dominance breaks down, so when it goes down, the altcoins start to go hard. They start to move hard. Why is that? The reason why is because Bitcoin's dominance over the market is becoming weaker because Bitcoin is generally grinding up. Yeah, people are becoming more comfortable with the crypto market and now willing to take more risk, and therefore liquidity flows into altcoins. It's as simple as that, really. So when Bitcoin dominance goes down, the altcoins generally start to move up. And when Bitcoin dominance violently moves down, the altcoins run really hard. Now, let's go back to the previous cycle, back in January 2021, right? That is really when, well, it was in December, late December 2020, when Bitcoin breached through its all-time high and started to move up, making new highs. Then it was in January, the alts started to sort of, you know, come alive. And then it was sort of February that they started to move. Then in March and April, it's when they've really, really moved. And you can see that in these bars. This is January, February, March, April, May. Now, by the middle of May, we had a huge drop in Bitcoin of about 40+%, which technically speaking was the end, really, or the euphoric top of the altcoin market. Now, obviously, yeah, some altcoins like Ethereum, Solana, etc., then went on to make further highs when Bitcoin did later in November. But the lion's share of altcoins, like 99% of altcoins, found their peak in the sort of middle of May, beginning of May. And you can see that in this chart where essentially Bitcoin dominance really starts to break down hard, and then the altcoins start to move. And this area is simply a very short period of time. Okay, I mean, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months. And to be quite frank, things didn't really start heating up until end of February. So arguably it was about 4 months. So it was 4 months of time where altcoins literally went up 300, 400, 500, 600, etc. %. Okay, and people just, I don't know, people the thing is, people forget these things. I don't know why they forget them. It's just so obvious because it's on the chart. So it's like literally 4 or 5 months, okay? And then in 2017, obviously, Bitcoin dominance had this massive fall in the beginning of 2017. It was a completely different time then. Less altcoins. People had to buy Bitcoin to buy altcoins. There was a very small stablecoin market, etc. But the last move, which I remember well, the last move, the violent move of the altcoins happened, sort of started to happen in kind of end of October, went through sort of November, December, and into January, into the first couple of weeks of January. But technically speaking, that was it was like about 2.5, 3 months max. Okay. So my point is this, is that these moves, these violent moves where things increase in, in US dollar value, and their Bitcoin value, happens very, very quickly. And people just, for whatever reason, forget that. And what we've got here as a setup at the moment for altcoins, and the Bitcoin dominance chart is we've got a huge, I call it huge, we've just got a bearish divergence on the logarithmic MACD. Okay, and I spoke about this in the last couple of videos, really, but we can see here there's a cross, it's a bearish cross, and it's now printed 2 red bars on the histogram. So that to me is a confirmed bearish crossover on the MACD. And what that means, technically speaking, is that this momentum that's been going on now for years, since basically October 2022 on the Bitcoin bottom, this momentum, this strong momentum of Bitcoin dominance grinding up higher as Bitcoin, exerts its dominance over the market and tries to seek all-time high. This has now ended its wane. It's starting to wane. Well, it's more than waning. It's turned, okay? And it's now on its way down. It's going to come down, okay? And my take at the moment is, and I could be wrong, is that the market top is going to come probably gun to head Q4 at some point. Maybe it pushes into Q1. It's a possibility, let's see what happens. But if I had a gun to my head and somebody said to me, when do you think the top for the altcoins and Bitcoin's going to be? I would say probably at some point in Q4. Now, there's a good argument that Bitcoin could find a high, say 150K, 160K, 200K, whatever it is. And there could be an area where lots of profit taking happens, but it happens over a period of 2 or 3 weeks. And the altcoins continue to move, so they go into January. Okay, that would be potentially what happens. But I don't know what's going to happen. But as I say, gun to head, I think, it's probably going to happen in Q4. But my point is this, is that we've got these 2 very bearish red candles at the moment for Bitcoin dominance on the monthly. We've got a bearish cross on the logarithmic MACD. And in my view, this is telling me that there are going to be further red candles coming down. And it wouldn't surprise me. In fact, I think this is what will happen, is that there will be now a continued trend downwards for Bitcoin dominance for the next 3 to 4 months, well into Q4, potentially into Q1. How deep it goes, I don't know. I did a video on this last time. I'm thinking minimum it probably gets here to about 48%. Potentially, if there's a really strong move with Ethereum and Solana and a few of the other select, maybe it can push down into this area of sort of 43%, maybe a little bit lower. But, that's a matter for you. That's a matter for you to manage your risk. But what I'm saying is when it gets to that sort of 48% area here, I would start being a bit cautious, maybe taking some profit. But back to my main point. Here, this is a 4 or 5 month move. Here, 3-month move. On both occasions, alts went absolutely crazy. And in my view, this will happen again in the next 3 to 4 months. It's probably not going to happen as violently as it did in previous cycles, because obviously last altcoin market was pretty good. The altcoin market before that was in 17, absolutely insane. Market's become saturated. Market has changed. People aren't so dumb anymore. lots more participants, etc., etc., etc. So this time it's probably not going to be as violent. It might not be as long, but it's certainly not going to be very long. It's likely to be a similar time frame to the previous cycles of about between 3 and 5 months max, and that's going to be it. That's going to be the end. I mean, all you have to do is, for example, look at Ethereum. Let's look at Ethereum, right? So this was Ethereum in 2018 when it made its ultimate high in January 2018, where we had a Bitcoin top in I think it was like the 14th of December. Alts continued running through another week or so into January. But what happened in 2021 was that there was this period where it gained momentum, came up to its all-time high, and then it broke through, and then it made what is arguably the top really for altcoins, because as I said a moment ago, Bitcoin dominance chart here back in May 21 was ultimately the top for 99% of altcoins. And if you have a look at Ethereum, Ethereum topped out here on the 10th of May, and then there was that big drawdown. And this period of time here was hardly anything. It was like literally about 100 days or something like that. I don't know. Let's have a look. It was like, 91 days. So it was 3 months. And in 3 months, Ethereum increased in value by 200%. Okay. Now, Ethereum is currently trading at 432. If Ethereum goes from where it is now up to 100%, that would be 9k or whatever. If it goes to the 1618 up to 12k from the breakout point, that would be 163%. Last time it did 200%. So it's not out of this world, is it, that would happen? And what you can see here is that move happened very, very quickly. Okay, very quickly over a period of 90 to 100 days. So that takes us back, doesn't it, to the Bitcoin dominance chart when we're looking at these areas, these red monthly bars. Happens very quickly, guys. Really, really quickly. So my point today is simply this. There is plenty of time left for there to be a good, strong alt season, particularly for the sort of top 20 altcoins. As I said a moment ago, things like Ethereum, things like Link, things like Doge, things like Sui, things like XRP, etc., they will all get a good bid, and they will all contribute to Bitcoin dominance breaking down. And we have a confirmed bearish cross. So this is telling me Bitcoin dominance is now trending down, and it will probably continue to trend down for at least the next 3 to 4 months. Then there will be an area of consolidation for a while, and then it will exert its dominance over the market again during the bear market. Simple as that. That's it. And what we got to remember as well, guys, is that we have the seasonality on our side. We know that previously Q4 has always been the best performing quarter 100% of the time. Average of 85%, median of 52%. If Bitcoin increased by 52% right now, it would be about 160 odd plus K. If it increased by 85%, it's going to be about 210K or thereabouts, okay? So again, these numbers are not out of this world, okay? So my point, which I hope I have put very succinctly and very clear, is that we don't need a huge amount of time for things to change quickly to the upside in crypto. In fact, history tells us that the biggest gains are actually made in the smallest areas of time. For some reason or another, people think that their gains came from long grinding moves, but actually they didn't. They came usually from a 4 to 5 month violent move to the upside. Okay, I think that's me. I think I've ranted enough for this video. That's what I think happens. I could be wrong, but I'm not betting against Q4. I'm happy with the positions that I have, and I'm going to continue to hold those positions into Q4 and see where we go from there. But as I said right at the beginning of this video, gun to head, I think that Bitcoin's top will come in some point in Q4, maybe in Q1. All right. If you want to join the group, if you want to join the VIP group, check out the website, link in the description, or you can check me out on Twitter/X. Have a look at the link tree there. It's got links to all of my socials and indeed the group. You can either DM me directly on Twitter or you can send us an email. It's $499 for a year. We've got many experts in there who've been in crypto for literally, I don't know how many years experience together. We've got probably over 100 years of experience collectively in crypto. So come check us out. It's $499 for a year. It's probably the cost of a cup of coffee every day. And we hope to see you there. If not, follow, like, subscribe, and I shall see you next time. Thank you very much for listening. Take care. Bye-bye.